crazy? Okay, so you know what's crazy? I actually saw It 2 today, and I saw it in something that I've never seen a movie before in. And I don't know if you have either, but Regal's doing this new thing called Screen X.
Screen
And
X, I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, and I think it's like to compete against IMAX, which I don't think it does, but basically Screen X is it's so weird. So you know when you go into a theater and the theater room, and when you go in, like, the aisle, when you first walk in, you're at there's these two walls, and like one of them is the seats that like end up going down, and then you have to go up to go to the seats, and then one of them's like soundproofing wall to the left of you, right?
Okay, sure.
Do you know kind of what I'm talking about when you first enter the room? So it's like a little aisleway before you get in. So
oh yeah.
Yes. So that they changed the soundproofing on the walls to like a projector like screen.
What?
And basically what happens is I guess movies are filming like this now, where they're filming with like a wider like angle. I don't know how they do it actually. I honestly don't know if they just like film with like a really wide angle and then crop it down. But basically, they use the main screen in the center, and then for certain scenes, there's these two projectors at the top of the ceiling, and they project on the sides, and they make it one giant screen. So you look around you.
You're saying this is only for certain scenes that?
Sorry, you cut out.
This only happens for certain scenes, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it doesn't happen for the whole movie. It happens for a lot of... Because I imagine they can't film that way for every single scene in a movie. It happens for, like, key scenes. It happens for most scenes. It's honestly a little distracting. Because it'll just turn on, and then you're like, oh, now there's stuff going on to the left and the right of me. But it's interesting because when it happens, it's kind of, I don't know how to feel about it, because it's kind of cool.
I don't think I'd like that one bit.
Yeah.
If it was like that the whole time, that's one thing, but
turning
on and off like that, that's no good.
It's definitely distracting. I don't think you'd like it either. It definitely, because it's not like IMAX where like, it's like giant, but it's not distracting because it's not like, sometimes it's distracting, but it's not like IMAX. It doesn't feel as grand as that. It feels like for a few scenes you're just getting like an extension of the frame, because what it does is it just like it extends the entire frame, and it's cool because like you do see things that like you'd see things that you wouldn't see if that wasn't on, like, because you look outside the frame and you still see characters acting where normally they wouldn't even be in the shot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, so that aspect is kind of cool, but it's not really necessary, and I don't think it's like IMAX where you're like, dude, you gotta see that movie in IMAX. Like, I don't think I'm ever gonna go up to someone and say, dude, you gotta see that movie in Regal X screen, man.
Definitely
changed my life.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't know. It was cool. Like, I will say they did do some really cool things with it too. The opening sequence was cool because they had different things on the side screen that they didn't have on the main screen, so that was cool.
That does sound cool.
So they had like some cool ideas. I just don't think it would. And I'm glad I tried it out because I was very curious. But it not only is the quality not that great on the side screens, but the fact that it turns on and turns off is distracting. I got used to it throughout the movie. I definitely like noticed it less turning on and off. It's just, I definitely like thought of it more as like your peripheral vision, like for a movie. It's what I imagine watching a movie in VR would be like.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like that, but not as cool probably. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah, that's my thoughts on Screen X. It's a very interesting idea. The turning on and turning off bothers me. Hopefully they'll figure it out. Maybe it's just it's a new thing that they're trying out, but very interesting stuff. But yeah, I definitely would still pick IMAX any day.
Oh, I mean, it sounds like there's no doubt about it. I haven't seen this Regal X thing,
IMAX
but
is, yeah.
anything that stops and starts like that during the movie, I'm not for.
Yep, because it just distracts you, and it's
Yeah.
it's like when those 3D movies used to be like, put your 3D glasses on
yes.
now. Oh my god! I remember
Those were
Spy
crazy.
Kids
Spy Kids
3D.
Game over.
Jesus! Oh my god, that has to be a throwback one of these days.
Oh my gosh.
But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, welcome to Film Juice.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
We took a break last week because of Memorial Day weekend, and we're just busy with life stuff. But we're back and better than ever with some great movies, and yeah, it's gonna be a good. We got a crazy show lined up today, so yeah.
Yeah, I think
Andrew,
we're gonna have some good stuff to say.
Yeah, what movies do we got today?
First one we're gonna be talking about is Angel Has Fallen, which I guess is the third in the what is now referred to as the quote-unquote Has Fallen trilogy.
Yeah,
starring
the
Gerard Butler.
The Fallen trilogy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it sounds a little clunky. I don't know how else to say it. The one that I think we're both really excited to talk about is It Chapter 2 finally came out. And then Harvey, one of my favorite Jimmy Stewart movies.
1950.
Yeah, 1950. That's going to be a throwback. But let's start with Angel Has Fallen. Then.
Let's start with Angel Has Fallen.
There's been an assassination attempt on the president.
Mike Bannon, you're being charged with the attempted murder of the President of the United States.
The president's top guardian angel has fallen.
Can't you see that I'm being set up?
What was I gonna say? Yeah, so Angel Has Fallen. This, what a movie. To set the scene for you, I've never seen any of the previous Fallen movies. I have never seen
any of them?
I haven't seen Olympus Has Fallen, and I haven't seen London Has Fallen.
See, I didn't see London Has Fallen, but I remember. Yeah, I remember Olympus Has Fallen, seeing that in the theater, and I really enjoyed that one, actually.
I heard the first one was good, and then I heard London Has Fallen was terrible.
Sounds about right.
Now Angel Has Fallen is out, and we have a movie to talk about. So, to set the scene for you, Morgan Freeman plays the president in this movie, and Gerard Butler plays his head of security, special agent guy that he trusts. And I guess Morgan Freeman has been the president in all the movies, and
well, in
such
the
and
first
such.
one, it was God. What the hell is that guy's name? It's something Aaron Eckhart, I think.
Oh, Morgan Freeman wasn't the president in the first one?
No, he took over. Aaron Eckhart was the president in the first one.
Well, that makes more sense. See, there's probably gonna be a lot of things I don't know from the last ones, but anyways, basically the president gets in a coma from an attack. The president gets attacked and put in a coma, and Gerard Butler is blamed and framed for it. So he's kind of on the run, and he's trying to clear his name at the same time, trying to catch the guys who did it. And if it sounds like The Fugitive, it's because it kind of is. It's just, and
I wish this movie was The Fugitive.
Yeah,
I
dude.
love that one.
I mean, I gotta say this is literally. That's the movie. That is the movie. That is the summary of this movie. If you go on IMDb, that is the summary of the movie on IMDb.
Is The Fugitive?
No. I'm just saying, it's exactly what I just said. There's the president gets in a coma.
Oh yeah, no, that's everything. That's the whole deal.
So this movie is, as I could say, just your It's an action. It's your cheesy action movie, and that is this movie. I don't know where to start. I want you to talk, Andrew.
Sure. Okay. I got you, Joe. So,
Thanks.
Yeah, there are so many tropes that this movie sort of encompasses into itself that are, I guess, a little boring if you consider how many movies have done them before.
Yep.
This might be jumping forward a little too much right off the bat, but here's the one that really, really bothered me, was the disembodied voice as a villain trope.
Oh, yeah.
They did it just, a couple weeks ago in Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah. What? Yep.
Just like a disembodied, manipulated voice, which I feel like is
I'm the
almost
bad guy.
to keep it open because they don't know, they're going to try
so
to get
annoying.
a big actor to play that
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
God, that makes I don't like that at all. I'm just so tired of it.
It's so dumb.
It's lazy. I think it's really the appropriate word for it.
No, yeah, I think that's true too. I think it's both. It's awful. It's just annoying. And this, I don't want to. Okay, this movie is not. I gotta start off by saying this movie is not terrible. I don't think this movie.
I don't think so either.
I don't think this movie's terrible. I'm making it sound like it's terrible. I don't think it's terrible. The way I'm talking like that is because this is one of those movies that is just, you've seen it a lot of times before. It's one of those chore movies. If I had to describe it, it's a chore movie.
Okay.
It's a movie that you don't really want to watch, but you gotta watch it, so you're gonna watch it.
This is like this is like the epitome of what we've mentioned so many times before on the show, is this is going to be on FX on a Tuesday afternoon, when you're home sick or whatever from school. You know what I mean? It's going to it's going to be on FX.
Yes.
Like
yes.
I said, yeah.
I see exactly what you're talking about. Okay, sorry, you cut out for a second, but I did hear. I did hear. So it's basically like the epitome of a movie that you'll see on FX and fucking it's just on you just catch it on the TV, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
that's what I said.
Okay, that's exactly. Sorry, you cut out. But yes, that's exactly. I couldn't agree more with you. And I say it's a chore, and that makes it. But after getting out of this movie, it was not terrible.
No, I don't think so at all.
It's just a movie that I've seen a million times before, and it's just, I just didn't care. I didn't care, and there were parts that I enjoyed. In particular, the end of this movie, I think is enjoyable. But man, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. Oh my god, it's so hard to form words for this movie because it's just so. Sometimes it's so frustrating, and sometimes it's this is a good action part.
Yeah,
but
here's what I think about as far as the action is concerned. When it's just Gerard Butler either moving through an area and shooting people, or even in a more hand-to-hand scenario, most of those action scenes I felt like I noticed were either really dark or there was just so much smoke around, and
they were so choppy too, man.
Yeah.
This movie does
even at the very end, when you do finally get an action sequence with two people that isn't completely covered in smoke,
it was cool.
It's nice, but the shots are not good. Those shots were not good at all for visible. That sequence was, I don't know, maybe it was just poorly cut.
No, yeah, I think it was definitely poor. I know, I think it was more poorly cut than poorly shot. I think the editing in this movie is very not great. I think I'm just jaded by. I don't know if this is a bad thing for me to say, but I feel like jaded from these kind of movies now, almost, because I've seen so many good action movies that now I'm seeing this movie, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, this movie just doesn't cut it for me, I guess. Like,
you know, it's, I mean, we keep saying, like, it's not a bad movie, and it's not, it just doesn't do anything to set itself apart from anything that you've seen before. There's nothing special about it.
Exactly.
It's fine, but it would have been just nice to see them put, I guess for lack of a better way of saying it, a little more effort into it creatively.
Yes. And it's definitely better than, I'd say it's definitely better than like a Hobbs and Shaw, or
that's
something like that. Like, it's not Hobbs and Shaw. It's weird because this movie takes itself seriously, but it also knows that it's a cheesy action movie.
Sure.
It's very strange.
And that's one of the things that I feel is kind of redeeming about it, is like, in no way is it trying to be anything more than just an action movie.
Yes. Oh, no. Well, actually, I disagree in some regard. I think one issue I had with this movie is in the beginning of the movie, there is just what's the word? What am I trying to think of? In the beginning of this movie, there's like 30 minutes before actually anything happens, like action-wise at all. Like, it's all just exposition and setup. And even as someone who hasn't seen the other movies, I don't think it explained the other movies well at all. I had no idea. I honestly just had no idea what was going on half the time for like the beginning. But basically, like, Gerard Butler is having these issues, and
that felt. I mean, obviously, I didn't see London Has Fallen.
He has like a concussion,
right?
Or whatever.
But I'm pretty sure, as far as I know, that wasn't referenced at all in Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah,
I think that's more of a new thing, and I do think that added an extra element to it in a way. Yes.
So that's the thing, is this movie does this thing that a lot of action movies do nowadays, where it's like trying to be more than just an action movie by adding the element of this man is aged and old and stuff like that. So,
but I feel like that's become so ingrained in this genre that it doesn't set anything apart at all. And I think that it's just
exactly.
I just think that that's just become a new trope, really. Like, literally, I have it written down, like, it's exactly like, you know, it's just Lethal Weapon. Like, Gerard Butler's just getting too old for this shit, you know? And we're like, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Like, oh boy, he's getting older.
I get that.
What's he gonna do?
That's fair. That's very fair. I agree with that. I agree with that. That's all I can say. That's what I was trying to say is, I think whenever it does, like, that part annoyed me. I don't know. This movie just started off slow, and I didn't care for it. I think this movie doesn't get really entertaining until, like, halfway, honestly. Like, it takes a while to get to where it has to go, I think. It's a lot of setup.
When does he meet up with his dad?
Oh, the old guy in the woods. I thought that was a great part.
Oh my gosh, that was the best part of the movie.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
He was a great actor. That guy's a famous actor. I don't know his name. I don't know if you know, but like from what I remember, I think he's a pretty famous actor. The old guy.
Oh yeah.
He's been in things. I just can't remember his name right now. I wanna get it right though, so let me look it up. But let's see who this man with the beard who's in the woods. Nick Nolte? No, that was not him. Oh, what the hell's his name?
I'm pretty sure that is.
Was
Nick
it Nick
Nolte?
Nolte? It was Nick Nolte. Is it Nick Nolte or Nick
Nick
Nolte?
Nolte. Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte. That is Nick Nolte. Okay.
Nick Nolte.
As the proper say it, Nick
Right.
Nolte.
Nick Nolte.
Okay, yeah. So he was good. He was the best part of the movie for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
That happens I think that happens halfway though.
Yeah,
I don't know.
What I really was like, okay. Now it's kind of bringing me in. Now I really want to start paying attention.
Yeah, it just took forever to get there, and that was an issue I had. Also, this movie has this a thing that happens in this movie is they're a little on the nose about I know they're going for a cheesy action comedy, but they're on the nose and they hit you on the head with a lot of different weird things.
Okay.
I don't know, I just it was just weird, almost third wall breaking. Or fourth wall breaking. Why did I say third wall? What the fuck? I'm fucking tired. Fourth wall breaking moments. For example, there's this scene with the vice president, and this is what I'm talking about when it gets too cheesy. There's a scene with the vice president. Okay. And there's two moments I'll address. First, the scene with the vice president where he's like, "I think the Russians did it, just like they meddled with the elections or whatever." I'm like, okay, why did he say that?
Well, you have to be topical, Joe.
And then,
you have to make a comment. It's what the people want.
And then I was like, that was just so weird. He might as well have looked at the screen. I was like, okay. Yeah. And then the other part that happened, where there's another part. And there's this twist that happens, and I thought we were supposed to know that, but it was one of those twists where it's just this big moment where I thought we were supposed to know. I can't spoil it, but I thought we were supposed to know that it was already a thing, but I guess it was supposed to be a reveal, and I already knew. I thought I already knew that. I don't know. I just think it didn't. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but there's this reveal.
Sure that I'm not positive that I do, but I think the what's ultimately posed to be the big twist.
Yeah. Yes.
Very. Yeah, it's just kind of funny. I'm not sure that they did. I don't think they really did say it before.
No,
but that's
it's just
funny that it almost feels because it's so obvious that it feels like they did. That's hilarious.
I was just okay,
yeah.
And then they reveal it, and I'm like, didn't we already know that?
Right.
What happened? So those are just two so I don't know There are just two things that bothered me with this movie, two specific things, but I don't know. It was just this movie's frustrating, in those regards.
Sure, it can be.
But
here's one of the things I found frustrating.
Yes.
Was the oh man, I mean, I hate to say it, but especially as far as Gerard Butler's wife is concerned, the supporting characters were entirely one-dimensional, and I think the dialogue that was written for them was so bad that it just added to that.
I completely.
Amy
completely
Schumer
agree.
has this great sketch from when she had the Comedy Central show that's all about wives in these big movies supporting their husbands, and how basically writers or whatever just put them in there to be crying on the phone or whatever, holding the baby and be you get back to me or whatever.
Yeah.
It's such a great sketch, and I just felt watching this that was another example, because I mean her especially.
You mentioned, I agree with you. You also mentioned that you mentioned a similar, not to bring it back, this is kind of out of nowhere, but it just reminded me. You mentioned this before when we reviewed the movie First Man. Because I know you didn't care too much for that movie, but the wife of Armstrong in that movie.
Yeah.
I remember you mentioned that.
I just feel like, I don't know, they gotta flush him out more. And I mean, this movie's
I completely
already,
agree.
like, this movie's 2 hours long.
Yeah, man. I went into this movie thinking it was gonna be an hour and a half.
Yeah,
and then
it feels like it should be.
And then I watched the first half an hour of the movie, and I was like, "Oh, this movie's gonna be 2 hours long," because they just spent a half an hour of the fucking movie explaining shit that I don't care about and don't need to know. Oh, it was so annoying. I just wanted them to get to the point, and then when they finally got to the point, I was like, "Okay, it's just an action movie."
Yeah.
It's an action movie. Look at the action movie. Here it is. I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. I need to not. I sound like I hated this movie, and I really didn't hate this movie. Like, it's just because it was just fine. It was just fine.
It was just fine. But I will say this, that, I mean, it kind of, I don't think I've ever said this about an action movie before, but like I mentioned, I had some issues with some of the action scenes that were more like the firefighting scenes or like the one-on-one combat scenes. But the explosions in this movie were really well choreographed.
Yes, but you also...
I really think so, which might sound a little strange, but if you've seen this movie, I think you'll know what I'm talking about.
I do agree. I didn't... Excuse me. I didn't think about I didn't think about that. I just think that was something that like kind of went over my head. But like now I'm thinking like if I think back on it, like I can agree with you. That was something I didn't notice. That's interesting that you noticed that.
In every other action movie, you just kind of, there's something exploding. Like, that's why... Yeah. I mean, it doesn't serve any other purpose but to explode.
Are you saying, like, you think the impacts of the explosions were, like, well... Like, they had an impact on, like, the actual, like, scene? Like, or, like, moment?
No, I think they were just, I guess, edited really well.
Okay. Okay,
and timed really well and everything. And I mean, obviously they looked great, which a lot of. I mean, that's not too difficult to do if you compare it to other action movies. But
this
something about them felt really particularly well choreographed.
This is one thing I do have to say, and you reminded me about it. The CGI in this movie is not good. I don't know why. It looks like it's from like. It's just not good. It looks so aged. Like, I don't know how a movie that has... I feel like this movie has some sort of a budget. I don't know how they got away with this CGI. Like, it's
at
really...
least it's not as bad as The Predator.
No, it's not as bad as The Predator. That is a movie that I think I'll forever reference with terrible CGI.
Absolutely.
That's like...
And that movie had no excuse.
It's comparable to The Scorpion King. But The Scorpion King had the excuse... that movie had the excuse of it's an old movie.
Right,
the so Predator wasn't
earlier.
Old. But yeah, man. I don't know. This is the thing. I don't know what else to say about this movie. Honestly,
one of the things with action movies, again, another thing that basically all of these action movies add, especially now, is car chases. And this movie did have one kind of big car chase, which I thought was shot well, but it was so boring because it involves a tractor trailer, and that particular vehicle, its movements and stuff, it was very restricting to the action.
Yeah, but what's funny, but that's, and I agree, and it's interesting because there are plenty of scenes, though, in other movies that use tractor trailers in those kind of scenes, and they're very intense and very exciting to watch. One big example that I can mention right off the top of my head is The Dark Knight with the Joker. That scene with the semi and he has the fucking bazooka and everything, like that whole sequence,
that's true, but so in that sequence, the Joker, he's not in the semi truck, is he? He's not the one driving the semi.
No,
he
because
blows up the semi, right?
Yeah, the semi flips over.
That's the difference. That's the difference with this movie is
you're right.
Gerard Butler is the protagonist, the one that we're supposed to be following and identifying with the whole movie.
Yeah.
He's the one in the tractor trailer. So that's the vehicle that we're most closely following and supposedly related to, and that's why it's dull.
Yes, I agree.
Because it's not an add-on. In this case, it's supposed to be the whole thing.
It's not. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So that was super. I was disappointed with that part. That was so boring.
There are a lot of action scenes in this movie that were disappointing. Like I said, everything in the woods was great with.
Oh my gosh.
Nick Nolte's character. He was
cannot
great.
Stress enough that Nick Nolte as Clay Banning was the best part of this movie.
Yeah, and part of me almost feels like they couldn't afford Morgan Freeman for this whole movie, so that's why he was in a coma. Which I think is fucking hilarious.
That sounds like that would be right. Like that makes sense.
That's so fun because I feel like I just hope this is the last Fallen movie. I don't care.
I feel like it has to be because just based on the the whole concept, first the White House fell, first a building fell, then a country fell, and now it's the guy that's been a part of it. I
have fallen. It's okay. They can't do another one. I don't want them to.
And if they do, I think it's going to be terrible.
And it's not going to have. You know what's funny? I heard that this movie's better than London Has Fallen. Which is very interesting to think that this movie did better than that. I don't know. Usually, if the sequel's bad, the movie after that will be just as bad.
Right.
But there's been scenarios I don't know if I can name an example off the top of my head right now, but there's been examples of that happening in the past. So where the second movie's bad, but the third movie's actually good. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's what I have to say about it. What would you rate this movie, Andrew? Or final thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's any last things that I really want to add.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty straightforward to talk about.
It was the easiest movie to summarize ever. That's the easiest summary I could. It was fucking insane. I feel like the, Jason Bourne style shaky cam served its purpose enough throughout this, but there were a lot of times where things were just kind of too out of focus or something like that, just because of all the cam movement. And it does, I don't know, I don't think that shaky cam serves a purpose, but I think that in this movie there were some instances where it did go handheld and kind of unsteady, which normally I would say is used to create suspense and stuff, of course. And in this, it I think works best when it's utilized to express Mike's unwellness. But there are a lot of points that are not suspenseful whatsoever. Oh, no.
That it still utilizes this technique.
Yeah.
And that's just distracting, I guess. I don't know. Upsetting in some way.
Yeah, well, it just... because it's just I don't know, you see what they're going for, but they didn't quite stick the landing.
But just, use it when it should be used. Don't use it when it doesn't have to be.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I completely
agree. It's just
agree.
a little overused in this one, I guess. And yeah, for the third time, I just want to stress again, Nick Nolte is he's by far the best part of this movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's not even close. I just
easily.
I think that even with the, I guess I would be spoiling something, so I don't want to say it, but I think that there's a tiny bit of subtext used involving his character.
Oh yeah.
That pays off that I liked a lot.
I agree.
And and again, like I said, like I mean, the rest of the supporting characters are entirely one-dimensional. Like nobody else has that feature.
Morgan
in this whole
Freeman
movie.
is the president.
There you go.
That's that.
That's settled. But ultimately, I'm gonna give this movie 5.5 juice boxes out of 10.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
because you know what? I think that there is a lot of things to be enjoyed in this movie.
Okay.
As far as just like straight up action goes, but I think if you start to really look at it, the whole thing falls apart.
Yes, I'm gonna have to give it a 5 juice boxes out of 10, which I could see giving it a 5.5 too. I think that's the highest I would go with this movie. But yeah. I gotta give it a 5 because it's just one of those movies that really didn't do anything for me.
Sure.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. Fine. Like, one word.
No, exactly. Like I'm glad that we decided to see it, but like if I, went to like take time out of my weekend to like go see this movie, I would have been a little disappointed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It would
have felt like a little bit of a waste.
I agree. And so yeah, I would not see this in the theater. I would see this when it's on TV on FX.
I think that'll be I think if like even just on demand.
Yep.
Like I'd pay $3 to watch this at home.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I would.
Like I think
Yeah.
I think that'd be honestly. I feel like that's maybe the best experience for this movie.
Yeah. I agree. I completely agree. I don't see a reason to see it in the theater, but yeah. So that's Angels Fallen. Let's move on to.
Okay, here we go.
The best thing that we wanted. Well, not the best, but a really good thing that we want to talk about this episode.
Well,
which
this is something we've been looking forward to for so
yeah,
long.
literally 2 years, 3 years, two. It was 2.
Okay.
I think it was 2 years. But because I remember we reviewed it on the TV show, Film Juice, and we saw it when we saw the movie when it first came out, and I remember immediately after we were talking about it, we loved it, like we thought it was great, and we got we were like I can't wait to see what they do with the next one, and then we kept hearing about like who was getting casted, and we were like, dude, this is gonna be fucking insane.
Yeah, because the casting, I mean.
Oh, the casting is literally perfect.
Like, there's no other way to say it.
It is. It really is, and it's kind of unbelievable how perfect it is. I gotta say, so there was hype for this movie for both of us, for sure. And I think there was hype for this movie. I think that goes for everyone. There was hype for this movie with a lot of people who saw the first one, because the first one did so well, and it was like it was great. Like everyone really enjoyed it from what I heard, and they all thought it was like just awesome. So and it was such a good tight knit story.
Yeah.
Now I want to, before we go into this one, I do just want to say, just to recap, just our general thoughts of the first movie before we go forward on how we felt about it, just in case people haven't seen that episode of the show, and just a general like refresher anyways on how we both stand on the first movie. I really I love the first movie. I don't remember exactly what I rated it, but I love the first movie, and I remember giving it a really high rating, no matter what it was. It was nothing below an 8 or an 8.5. I know that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely loved it. And I thought it was a great horror movie. on.
Definitely.
Like, it was really well done as a horror movie, and I think it had some humor in there. I thought the kids were great. The kid actors were amazing.
Unreal.
It had so many unique moments, too, and scary moments like that I've never seen a horror movie do before. I'll reference the projector scene in that movie is one of the most unique horror, like, things I've seen it's one of the most unique things I've ever seen in a horror movie. Like, that projector scene is just amazing. And I love that scene. And there's a lot of scenes like that in that movie that I love. And yeah, I thought it was just a great movie. Had a good message, good shit, awesome movie. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I remember. Did you ever see the 1990 It miniseries?
I've seen
see that?
Bits and pieces, not the whole thing.
I remember watching that, like, gosh, years ago, and it's so bad. It's awful. And this...
Well, isn't what's his name actually good as the...
Oh my gosh, Tim Curry as
Yes.
Pennywise is unreal.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I would honestly put Bill Skarsgård first, but I feel like that's just because this remake sort of allowed for him to do different things with that character that kind of weren't
possible.
Possible, yes, with the constraints of that miniseries. But
yes.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, Tim Curry in that was incredible, but everything else was lackluster. Let's say.
I agree.
So when they said they were doing this new It movie, the first one, I was super excited just because it looked like it was gonna be so good, and it did not disappoint when we saw that in theaters. And again, such a huge part of that is because of the child actors, in particular, in my opinion, Jack Dylan Grazer, who plays Eddie.
Yes.
Like, I thought that kid was perfect, and obviously you have Finn Wolfhard as well from Stranger Things that people can't get enough of. And it just really, it was just nice to see them really. You could just tell how much time was put into it, and it was so scary in such an entertaining way.
Yeah.
That I think really allowed it to cross bridges that a lot of other horror movies wouldn't be able to do, as far as like what sort of audience it would appeal to.
I agree. I think you saying scary but entertaining is like the perfect way to describe that movie.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that statement. Because
it was also like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's weird because it is scary, but it's not like, I don't think it's like terrifying. Like, I don't know. It's not. I've never found these movies to be that scary. Specific.
Yeah.
And I can't say. I don't want to say anything about it too yet, but it had scary moments, and I think it had a lot. It had a decent amount of scary moments, but it was always, I think, it had this like entertaining charm to it still. I don't know. So that's
definitely correct.
It always kept it from being too scary, I guess, is the term.
Sure.
I don't think.
No, I think that's right.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So you obviously liked it 1 as well a lot. So now it 2's out.
For 27 years, I dreamt of you. I craved you. I missed you. You
saw it before I did. I actually just saw it today.
I can't believe. I literally, I was like, I can't wait. Like, I went and saw this opening day, like the first showing available, because I was like,
that's crazy.
I have to see this. I have to see this cast, like, in this world and see what happens.
I guess I gotta say too, we should probably summarize the story as best as we can.
Sure.
If you want to give that a shot. I don't know.
Yeah. So starting with It 1, because of course they tie into each other. These are they like middle school kids?
Yes.
Yeah, they're like young kids. They live in this very small town where every 27 years there's a bunch of disappearances, mostly children.
Yes.
So when one of the characters, Billy, who's played by Jaden Martell, when his younger brother goes missing, he and his friends, the Losers Club, decide to investigate. And when they realize about all these disappearances, they start to put together that something perhaps supernatural is going on. And as they get closer to finding answers, they become the target of this demonic clown who lives in the sewers, Pennywise, who it turns out is the one taking all these children and everything. So they, in It Chapter 1, they fend him off, and they kind of beat him back into hiding.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't kill him. And at the end of It Chapter 1, they make a pact that when it comes back, the Losers Club is gonna meet back up in Derry and finish this thing off once and for all. They feel that it's their obligation that they have to do this. So now in It Chapter 2, finally, it's 27 years later. All the Losers Club has grown up. They're all doing their own thing.
Yep.
They've all moved out of Derry except for Mike, who in this case is played by Isaiah Mustafa, who was the Old Spice guy for a very long time, which those commercials were hilarious.
It was very interesting to see him in this, but anyways,
and
keep
like
going.
A real deal, like acting
yeah,
gig.
It was very weird. Keep going though.
So because he's the only one who stayed in Derry, he's the only one who really has a clear memory of what happened. The rest of them, I'm sure it could be from trauma, but they set it up as if it's some sort of supernatural thing as well, that the rest of the group starts to forget about what happened to them when they were kids, as they move away from Derry. So now Mike, anyways, he realizes that now it has come back and is starting its murderous run once again.
Yep.
And so he calls back the Losers Club, and kind of reluctantly they come back to Derry and take care of business. They decide that ultimately we have to deal with this thing.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So it's
I want to say I guess let's start with the cast of this movie, because holy shit, this cast is insane. Like we were saying, James McAvoy, Bill Hader, what's
Jessica
Chastain. And I should just honestly pull up a list because they're all so good.
You got Jay Ryan, who was playing Ben.
Mm-hmm.
James Ransom, who's playing Eddie, now grown up, and Andy Bean playing Stanley.
Yes.
And of course, Bill Skarsgård back as Pennywise.
Yes. And I gotta say, they were all amazing. They were all literally so good and amazing. It was insane. Everyone's talking about it, but Bill Hader, for me at least, and everyone else, was the standout of this movie, I think. Like,
yeah, I mean, he was just. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better person to take over the role of Richie.
Oh no,
based on especially what
and
Finn Wolfhard did with the character.
But like,
I mean,
the character development like is insane for him in this movie. Like, he just brings it. Like, he really brings it to this movie. And like, this, I don't know. You know what? I'll say it. I didn't expect to get emotional at this movie. Got a little emotional, just a little bit.
Oh.
Just a little emotional.
I mean, I think there are parts that just feel so. You can just feel through the screen how heavy some of these moments are for the characters.
Yep.
And then sort of at the breaking point, you can't help but feel connected to that and get caught up in those emotions.
Yes. Now, another thing about this movie is it's 3 hours long. It's about an hour longer than the original It. Now, I gotta say, it's not one of those 3 hour long movies that don't feel it doesn't feel 3 hours. Like, there's always that movie where it's like, oh man, I honestly could, like, it was 2.5 hours and I could have watched more.
Sure, like Endgame, right?
Yes.
Like that was 3 hours and that went by like
exactly.
That.
Or like, I'd even say Blade Runner 2049.
Sure.
Movies like that where like you really don't feel the time, but like, and you like are just so invested. This movie, it definitely feels 3 hours long, and I'm sorry to say that, but it does. And I don't know, it
does, but it's not like a problem.
I don't think. Well, I think it's a.
It does. I mean, to me, it didn't feel like a problem.
I don't think the length is a problem in what's the word? I don't think the length is a problem necessarily. I think the problem is how they use the length of the film. So
okay.
I don't want to. You know what? Since I have a lot of good things to say about this movie, I will actually start with some of my gripes.
Yeah, please do.
I don't think that this movie's length was too long. I think that the way they got there was like too muddled and maybe everywhere. I just think the beginning of this movie, and honestly some of even not really towards the end, but the beginning specifically of this movie, like the first hour, is very kind of everywhere. It just bounces around, many different ideas, many different like things, because Mike's trying to get everyone back together. But I think that's
the whole point, though.
No, I understand that, but I think what they did was they took a little bit too much time on rehashing the first movie and I think this is the reason why. And this movie, like, I don't think you honestly need to see It 1 to see this movie. I really don't. And I honestly think that's why I have an issue with it, is because I think the reason why I think it's muddled is they just restate like things that we already know, and they do it like a lot. Like, they just keep rehashing the first movie in the beginning specifically. And I was like, I already know this. We saw this. I don't need to see this again.
Right, but
they're doing.
I don't know, you have to do that.
They don't. They wasted a whole hour on basically just.
I don't think they wasted that much time doing it.
I don't know. And it just took me out. It usually would take me out of it, and those are the moments where I was like, okay, I think this could be cleaned up, because that's what made the movie feel so long, was just this beginning part where there's no Pennywise, and all it is these people trying to figure out what the first movie was when we already know what the first movie was. And I think that's what was frustrating.
I don't know. I didn't feel that way.
I think it just could have been done a little quicker. I don't know. I think it could have been done a little quicker.
Maybe, but I think that it was good that they took their time to express, really flesh out like where these characters have been.
Yeah,
and where they are now,
and
like what they've spent their lives like obtaining over the past 27 years.
And that's the thing. That's fair. And that's the thing is, I don't hate the idea of them. I don't hate the idea of the beginning, of the first act of the movie. I'll say I don't hate the idea of it. Like, I think I see what they're trying to go for, and I understand what they're doing, and it worked. It did work for a good part of it. I'm just saying, when I am looking back, I just realized, like, watching this movie, that's when I felt the runtime the most, is when I was, like, waiting to see more Pennywise and going through all the hashes again. And I think it just could have been done a little bit better. I don't know what they could have done or how they could have gone about it, but I think it was just too much rehashing, and it just took a little too long.
I think you have to consider who the movie is really about. It's like, I mean, is this story about Pennywise and what he's done to this town, or is it the story of these characters
and that's
their struggle to kind of rehash this trauma that happened to them when they were kids, and then deal with this maniac clown demon thing.
And you know what? I will agree with. I'll agree with that, in the fact that it brings me into my next gripe with this movie is, I think the tone of this movie is very different from the first It movie. This movie does not. I don't think this is inherently a bad thing. I just think it's not what I was looking for in this movie, which is why I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. Like, I don't hate it. I wish it was kind of better, or it was more what I wanted, but obviously I can't always get what I want. I just think maybe I just wanted to see it more of a horror movie again. But this movie is even less horror than the first movie. Like, this movie is not...
Yeah, very true.
The tone of this movie is very different from the first movie. It is very much not a coming-of-age story with... It's not a coming-of-age movie with horror.
Well, duh.
It's not. No. And I wasn't looking for it to be a coming-of-age movie with horror. I was still looking for that. What I loved about the first It movie was how it did its horror. It was so cool. And this movie has a few moments, but man, like, it's just not anywhere near the first movie.
I agree. And that did bother me. However, I think with the first one of the reasons there was so much emphasis on how scary it was, which is excellent. And I cannot stress enough how I wish they had at least a little more scary parts in this movie. It was still scary, but there should have been more.
Yes.
In It Chapter 1, they're children.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, I understand.
They're kind of easily scared. And in this one, the whole point is they're actively trying to face that fear. They're struggling to attack that fear.
I understand that as well. Like, I understand that point. That's what I'm saying is, when I went into this movie, I wanted it to be... and it's not the movie's fault for it not being this. I was expecting more horror and more scares because it's the second It movie. But really, this movie is not so much a horror movie, but this ending, this epic ending to an overarching story. And I don't think, as the first movie is this solid, horror coming of age story, this movie is more of just the I don't know how to explain it. It's more of just like the Return of the King, I guess. Like, it's just a giant ending and how everything comes together, and it doesn't really focus on the scares. It just focuses on the ending, which I don't hate. I wanted more scares, and that's what I'm trying to say. And so I was a little disappointed by that not being a focus of this movie. I'm fine with it. I understand why it wasn't, but that was a thing. So yeah, I do have one more gripe, but I don't know if I should bring it up now because I've been talking about a lot of gripes. So maybe I should talk about.
Hey, pile them on in one point. That's what I say.
Okay. I'll say another. Okay, I'll say another one then. This is actually my biggest gripe with the movie, and I actually think that this is just. This is easily the thing that bothered me the most, and I don't think that this is like a reason why I definitely don't like it as much as the first one. Is this movie sets up so much in the beginning. It has all these different things that, like, these questions that it brings up and all these loose ends that never get, some of them, like, never get resolved again, brought up again, and some of them are, just, like, they feel, some of the plot points in this movie just feel like they got brought up just because they had to, because it was in the first movie. So,
right. One
thing, and I think you're going to agree with me on this, is they bring back, this isn't a spoiler because I think it was in a trailer. If it is, I'm sorry, it's not a big deal. I promise. They bring back the one character, the serial killer kid, the bully kid. Yes, they bring him back, and he comes back, and I won't say much about him because that will be spoiling. But he is in the movie. He has no purpose in this movie other than he does two things, and it wasn't even that big of a deal. Like I thought it was going to be a big deal, and then it wasn't. Like, they set him up to be this big thing, and then he didn't do anything other than cause, like, a couple problems that didn't amount to anything. Like, I don't know. It just, it felt forced, honestly, that he was in this movie. In my opinion, it felt a little forced. Like, I don't think he needed... I think if they took... Like, for example, if they took him out of this movie, everything else would have stayed the same. Nothing in this movie would change if he wasn't in it. Like, a few small things, for sure. Like, a few small injuries would change. But that's it. And I just thought it was a big waste of time. Like, I was just so annoyed. Like, he just annoyed me. Like, I was just like, okay. Like,
that's interesting.
He was just he really did not have to be in the movie, in my opinion. And the whole thing with his driver, like, I understand who his driver is and everything, but like I just didn't like it. That's all I can say is I just didn't like it.
That did feel out of place, but obviously, especially with like this movie coming out, and I've never read the book, but a lot of people are talking about the differences between the movies and the book, and from what I can tell, the book was pretty weird.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that part was kind of in it. It didn't really fit in this movie.
No.
However, the bully character, I was interested to see him come back. I was glad that they brought him back, but I do have to agree that everything involving him ended up falling short.
I agree. And there's another instance where this happens, not with that character, but with another. They like bring up this Native American plot point at some point, the spiritual plot point in towards the beginning to set something up that I can't say, but basically it sets up this whole thing. But it kind of, they like talk about the idea of. Basically, they talk about the idea of Pennywise, and they talk about his origin, and a bunch of other stuff. And I think I really actually can't talk about it specifically, but so I'm gonna have to try and like do my best to just summarize it. But basically, they allude to a few different ideas that are very interesting, but they never really like go into them as deep as I think they should, because I think it'd be really interesting if they like went into it more.
I think that would also be very interesting, but to say that they should have gone there, I don't think that is fair necessarily.
Well, that's the thing, is when that's why I don't think the length of this movie is bad, because there's so much that they have to fit in this movie. There's so much that they put in this movie, and they fit in the movie, and they did so much in it. So the length is justified. I just think they could have used the length better mainly towards the beginning.
Focusing on different parts.
And that's a personal thing, and I understand that. That's just my opinion on it, though.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's what I have to say about my gripes with the movie. I want to. Is there anything that you didn't really care for in this movie, specifically that jumped out?
Yeah, not specifically. I really liked it for the most part. There were a lot of things that were very creepy and
Yes. It goes more of
grotesque.
Not
necessarily gory.
Yes. It's like a scary story. Scary stories to tell in the dark. It reminded me of that. The way
I
they
can see
did
that kind of.
the way they did the horror in that movie more than
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So as far as like really going to scare the audience, I definitely would have liked a little more of that, but I get why
yes.
there wasn't as much as the first one. It makes sense.
Yes.
And after I kind of was able to put like my own feelings about that aside, it made it much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I feel like I agree too. Like I feel like if I didn't bring that up, or if I did drop that or put it aside, I agree. I would probably enjoy it more. But that is something
Sure,
that.
but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard not to focus on.
Yeah.
it. I get that.
So yeah, I guess what I just talked about all the things I didn't like. There's a lot of things I liked about it though too. I want you to start with what did you like about this movie, Andrew?
Oh man, I think it was. I mean, geez, it was so well directed, and a combination of that goes to the acting. Certainly,
Yes.
One of the main points in that is James McAvoy, who's playing Bill, who in the first movie he has a stutter. This is a very specific example.
Yeah. Oh, this is a great moment that I realized too. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we see Bill at the very beginning of the movie, he's working. He's a writer. He's writing books as well as screenplays for Hollywood. And he doesn't have that stutter. And then Mike calls him and says it's time to come back. And when Bill goes to Derry and starts to remember all the stuff that happened there with it, the stutter comes back as well. And that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because they never said, like, Bill, your stutter's back. Like, something dumb like that.
Oh, God, that would have been
like
so
it just happened.
fucking stupid.
Right? And, when you have an ensemble like this, especially when they're all together for a lot of parts, the spacing can be difficult to manage in some ways. And I think that blocking-wise, Andy Muschietti, I don't know how you say his name, so forgive me, but I think he did a really good job of adding a lot of subtlety and doing that very well, particularly when there's a lot of parts where once the Losers Club gets back together, they're sort of positioned, once they start remembering what happened, they're positioned in a way similar to like a support group.
Yes.
And that was just really cool to see because it just fits so perfectly.
I completely agree.
And it just shows that he really understood a lot of the big themes of this movie.
Yeah.
And how to handle them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad they do. I was really happy with how they did do the specifically with all of that, with the great directing. You really see it in, I think, the reunion scene when they're at the dinner. Sure. I think that scene is so well done. It's so well written, and
oh yeah,
like there was not one moment where like I was like, there's no way like they would have said that. Like everything it just felt right. Like
yeah, I think everybody, the writer, Gary Daberman
Yeah.
and the actors,
Oh, yeah.
understood these characters on a level
of course.
very rarely matched.
Yes, and the directing is great with it. I completely agree. They just have a lot of subtleties with all their characters, and it's really great. It really is, and I completely agree. Some of the shots in this movie are awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think, especially in an age where Dutch angles are can easily be overused or done poorly.
Yeah.
This one used them exceptionally well.
Yeah,
This movie.
you know what's crazy? You mentioned that. I think the best Dutch angles are the ones almost that you don't notice, because
Absolutely.
because when a Dutch angle happens and you don't notice it, basically it means it did its job, because the Dutch angle is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, but it's not, or overpowered, or whatever
Right.
the Dutch angle is supposed to do in that scene, but it's not supposed to like jump out at you per se. It's supposed to just give you that feeling, and you're not supposed to really know why either. Like, it's supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be like, oh, that's a Dutch angle.
Sure.
And sometimes, I don't think it's a bad thing if you do. I just think it's done the best when you don't notice. And man, you just brought it up, and honestly, I didn't even notice like half of them. I bet, like, it was just like I really didn't like.
Yeah.
None of them really.
Exactly.
I can't.
I mean,
you're talking about Dutch angles, and I honestly can't think of one in my mind right now that like I noticed.
and that just goes to show you how well they were used. Like,
Yeah.
this is how they should be used.
Yep.
Is what happens in this movie.
Completely agree. And I also want to say the effects in this movie are really they're on par with the first one. They're I'd say probably better. I don't think the CG it just works really well. Like, I don't know, it doesn't. I think they used a little bit more CG in this movie than practical than the first one, but I mean, there was like a couple moments where I was like, okay, that looks a little weird, but like,
Sure.
it kind of worked stylistically with the movie, if that makes sense.
No, I have to agree.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of times where the CG is kind of used under the cover of darkness. I think
Yeah.
that helps with the look as well.
Yep. And man, this movie has so many great moments. Holy shit. I will say there is not a moment in this movie that I think amounts to the one moment in It 1 with the projector scene. Because that's just that's just one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a fucking horror movie ever. But there is one moment in this movie that is a big moment, and it's in the trailer of the movie. It's honestly one of my favorite moments in the entire movie, and it's not even a big. I mean, I think it's a big moment, but it's not like the biggest moment in the movie. I just think it's like a really great moment that they like showed, and it's the funhouse scene with James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that scene is first of all
That lived up to the hype, man, that was built from the trailers.
Yeah, the shots in that scene are amazing. I think that's my favorite scene just because of how it's shot. And that's definitely the scene that like they were like, this is like gonna be the big one. And it is like a big scene, but like not in scale. It's a big scene and like just it's a big moment. Impact. Yeah. I don't. But I do want to say like, this is what I want to say. I mentioned the Regal X Theater or whatever the hell I saw it in, the X screen. I mentioned that in the beginning. I just want to say that is one moment that was actually really cool, and it was cool because that was one of the one long sequences where the screen never turned off. So the sides were always on that whole time. The whole sequence, the sides were on, so they didn't turn on and off. So they were on for so long that you just got used to them being on, and then they kind of sucked you in, and it was so cool because when he was in the House of Mirrors, you saw the two screens on the side,
right?
Like,
it just made it look more
it
like
was,
it kind of
it
went
was,
on forever.
It was insane. Like,
yeah.
It was so cool. That was like, I was like, this is awesome. Like, that is when I wanted, like, that is when I was like, this, like, just to see, like, the scope of this fucking, like, labyrinth is awesome.
Exactly.
And, like, it wasn't, it was so cool. Like, I was like, this is awesome. And then another part that I thought was awesome is when he walks into the funhouse and, like, the frame like spins, and because he's going in the thing. That also had the extended screen, and I was like, dude, that's cool. It looks so fucking awesome. Oh, it was so cool. So, like, I just want to say, like, there were moments where I was like, this is fucking awesome. I don't think it paid off, but I will say there are things that I saw, and I was like, I'm glad I saw it like that. Like, because there were some moments, but I do want to say, like, that scene I love that scene, and it did definitely paid off, like you said. It was awesome. One of my favorite scenes. I want to say, I know I keep bringing up Bill Hader, but man, there's a particular scene with Bill Hader that I think is very, very important and very, like, it hits hard, man. It's a good scene. And it's kind of a mix of a flashback scene and just a hymn scene, and it's like in the park, and man, that scene, like, it's just like,
that was a scene where when watching it, I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, same. Like, and I was just like, that was a scene where I was just like, man, like, Pennywise just a dick.
Yeah.
Like, I always knew that he was a dick, but, like, that scene, Pennywise in that scene wasn't trying to kill him in any way. He was just trying to, like, he was literally, like, in all the other scenes, I could see, like, where Pennywise would, like, try and kill the kid, or kill the guy, kill the character. But in that scene, he just wanted to fucking fuck him up because he's an asshole.
Right.
Like, there wasn't a moment where he, like, almost killed him in that scene that I remember. He just maybe there was, actually. Maybe there might have been. But
yes, but it did feel like if he had really wanted to, he could have.
Yeah, it just...
So I think you're right. He was just messing with him.
And that was one of those scenes, like, it was a big character moment for Bill Hader's character, like,
and Pennywise as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a prime example of something that they really focused on more in the first movie, was how
and
to kind of use a strange phrase, but Pennywise plays with his food, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's
right, like that's where his power really comes from.
Man, it was intense. That was a really good moment too, and Bill Hader just brought it, man. God, he fucking brought it. I don't understand how he does it. He's just such a good actor, man. He's so good.
No doubt about
like,
that.
you see him in Barry, and then you see him in this, and it's like, this man can do anything. Like,
I think you're right.
And it's crazy to think about how, you know what I loved? And I have a feeling this wasn't in the book. I have a feeling like this was just something they wrote in because Bill Hader was the character. But the fact that Bill Hader's character is a comedian in this movie...
I'm pretty sure... Well, like I said, I've never read the book, but in the 1990 miniseries, he's like Richie becomes like an entertainer as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I thought that was because I thought that was a way of them just making it more of Bill Hader's character, because Bill Hader...
But that, possibly, but that fits so well with Richie as also.
Well,
like,
of course.
Just based on what we saw in the first movie. Of course.
I just think, you know what, maybe it's just good it's just more of an attest to the good casting.
I think that's really what it is.
Because Bill Hader, he talks about his struggles with, you know, one of the biggest things is he talks about how much he struggles with anxiety and, you know, performing, and how it just, like, it really is something he struggles with. And there's a part in this movie where they showed it. They showed a few times in this movie, and it's, I just thought it was really, like, cool, because knowing that Bill Hader, like, actually, like, has that, I just thought it was really interesting and really cool.
Good casting, man.
Yeah,
I think that's really what it was.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. And
also, it's a little, like, I can't remember seeing a movie that has, like, a time jump like these two do.
Yeah, you're right.
Where the character playing the adult version and the character playing the child looks so similar.
It's great. It's great.
Like, across the board, basically.
It's really great, and it works off.
It is
just
great,
awesome.
because you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they weren't, we would have obviously. I mean, that's a whole suspension of disbelief thing that would have worked just fine. But just the fact that it's just an added thing, right?
And the third act in this movie is incredible. It really is. That's when the movie was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It felt like the Goonies grew up and had to just fucking I don't know. It was just crazy. I loved. Maybe it was just because they were in a cave, but man, the end was.
And Sloth was there.
Yeah, honestly. And the end of it was just so cool, and it ended perfectly. It really did. There's actually one thing I will say, but I'm gonna save it for the very end of after we. There's just literally one spoiler that I have to talk about, but it's at the very end, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I do want to say, I thought it ended pretty perfect, and the themes and the motifs that they bring back, and the way they do the character struggles in the third act, wow, visually, it's so cool. Dude, there's so many cool visual moments, and so many throwbacks to the first movie that mean a lot.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I also felt that those flashbacks helped with the pacing.
The flashbacks of what are we
helped with the pacing to win
the beginning, in the very beginning, or in the
they were kind of throughout, there were a lot more of them than I thought there would be.
I'm just thinking of I see what you're saying. You're saying
why, what were you talking about? Did I misunderstand?
No, see, I'm talking about the third act of the movie when they're in the whole big thing, the whole big shebang is happening. And they have a lot of throwbacks, not flashbacks, but throwbacks to the first movie, where Pennywise does very similar things, and it's very cool. It's very cool to see happen. And also
and even that, I think you could say, kind of happens throughout. Well, I guess really at the beginning as well, because just the way that they show their adult lives, the way that they mirrored their childhoods is fascinating.
Oh, it's really cool,
and could not have been done better.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's so cool. It's really awesome. I loved it. What else? Oh man, what else did I wanted to talk about? One other. This is a really small thing, but this is something that I appreciated, and I also thought was just really cool. It was a really cool, subtle thing that they did, and it brings back to the subtleties of this movie. They don't shove things in your face, and I can't say it specifically because it's definitely a spoiler. But I keep talking about Bill Hader's character, but he has a lot of development. Bill Hader's character, there's something that we find out about his character, and maybe, and it's not something that's maybe it's not a big deal, maybe it is, but it's definitely a big thing that he's at least struggled with in his life, and Pennywise definitely preys on it in that scene where he's in the park, and it was, they never made a huge deal about it. Like it was just something that he kept to himself. And I loved that. Because movies don't do that. And I think if you see the movie and if you're listening now and you see the movie, Andrew, you obviously know what I'm talking about. If you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. You probably don't know at all what I'm talking about if you haven't. But I really can't say anything about it, or it'll spoil that moment. But it's just a really nice small moment that I wish more movies like that included that aspect into a character.
Sure.
I wish they just used that more. It was really cool to see. I enjoyed it, and it added more to his character. It really did. Like the way I don't think it didn't feel like they included it because they had to include it. You know what I mean? Like it felt like it worked, and it was a big deal because it made him and it made his bond to other characters even stronger and mean even more. At least one in particular, and there's a moment at the very end, and it was so. I got so emotional. Like I was like, oh no. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but there's like, I was so happy. Like I was like, man, that was a good. Like I'm glad they addressed it at the end. Like they really tied it together at the end. It was just great. But I don't know. It's a small thing. I just wanted to tell you about it because I noticed it and I thought it was a really cool thing that they did. And I thought you'd agree with that.
I do.
Yeah. That was something really awesome that he did with his character. But yeah, he was awesome and great, and I don't really know. I don't want to keep repeating ourselves, but we can't talk about much without spoiling anymore. And
we can move into spoilers.
Okay.
The last thing that I want to say.
Oh,
is
before we
how,
spoil it, you're not spoiling it, right? Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Before we head into any spoilers we want to talk about is just that I think there are just a few moments that kind of reference or pay homage to other movies that have been made based on Stephen King material. Yeah. And they were done very well, and it was cool to see. Yeah,
that's true. I didn't notice a whole lot of them this time around. I noticed more of them in the last movie, but I also wasn't really looking out for him as much. I noticed, like, obviously there's a little bit of a thing that happens in a store. That's a very obvious one, but that's not even referencing his books even. That's just something else entirely. But so I don't know if I mentioned this specifically, but before we go into spoilers, also the theming of the main character. This is just good writing in general, and this is like obviously what Stephen King was going for when he wrote the book. I think, at least. The main character, not the main character, they're all main characters. What's the guy? What's his Billy? That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Billy. He's a writer now, and there's a whole thing about how he can't like. There's this whole theme of how he can't like. He's not really good at endings, and I thought that was really cool. How they tied that into this movie and how it works into the end of the movie. You know what I mean? I thought that was cool. I don't know. It was a cool thing. And it just showed, I just think this movie had a lot of layers going for it with its characters and its theming. And there's just more to it, you know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow. What would you rate this movie?
I'm going to give this a 7.5. Like we said, I don't remember exactly what I rated the first one when we did it on the TV show, but this one's definitely a little lower.
Yes, for sure.
But still, I mean, incredibly entertaining movie.
Yeah.
I think just the fact that we kind of wanted to see what happened based on the end of the last one adds to that. But Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 juice boxes.
I think it's completely fair because I'm actually gonna rate it the exact same thing, 7.5.
Hey, there we go.
That's literally what I was gonna rate it. It's just, yeah, with all my gripes, it's still a great movie. Like, it's still really fun and really good and really enjoyable, and it's a great end to a crazy story. It's awesome. It's really awesome. But yeah, let's get into spoilers. I'm literally only going to talk about one spoiler. You can, if there's something else you want to talk about, go for it.
Yeah, I can't think of any spoilers that I really want to mention, but I want to hear.
This is going to be a really short spoiler discussion part.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, if you don't want to hear this, fucking skip ahead.
1 hour and 34 minutes or 94 minutes.
I'll put a timestamp like I always do, and then yeah. But you're gonna want this. The end of this movie ends with Bill gets a letter from. It's like a letter from Stanley, who Stanley is dead, because Stanley Stanley kills himself when he gets the call from Mike about coming back, and originally you think that he does it because he's just so scared, but at the end you find out in the letter that he says that he did it because he knew that if he did show up, that the losers would have never went through with it because they wouldn't have come together or something like that. I'm getting that right? Am I saying that wrong? Or
it sounds
okay.
Right. I can't remember exactly what the letter said.
But that's basically what it was. Is that
right.
he did it for the good of the group, and he did it as a hero. Now, this is the only issue I have with that, is after hearing what the letter said and everything, I just didn't buy it. I didn't believe it. I don't think that there was nothing that made me believe that if he did show up, that anything else would have been different. I really don't think that he had to do that. I just don't believe it. I don't think that him doing that was the thing that made the group come together. I don't think that's what it was. And I really just don't think that I just don't believe it. And that was the thing that I had an issue with. I was like, that just is dumb. I just don't think that makes sense. I don't know if you thought about that or if you agree with that, but that was the last gripe that I wanted to talk about, and that's a spoiler. I definitely can't say that, but yeah.
Interesting.
Did you even think about that, or was it not that big of a...
I had always thought that Stanley just did it because he was so afraid.
Yes. Exactly.
So I don't.
So then the movie tries to tell you that he didn't do it because of that, and that's when I'm like, that's not true. I just don't believe that.
I have no idea, honestly, Joe.
I don't know. It's just that part just bothered me. I was like, okay, that's weird. That doesn't make sense. That's the only other part, though, that I didn't really care for. It just didn't feel justified, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, so...
But I did like that they all got the letters.
Oh, I agree.
And stuff.
I agree, and I think it was a nice moment. I just don't think he had to do that. Because I don't know. I just don't think he had to do that, because if he didn't do that, I think it would have turned out the exact same, but maybe not.
Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, so that's it. Chapter 2.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we finally got a chance to see it.
It's great.
Man, I was so looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk. We got one more. I'm excited to talk about this one, actually.
Yeah,
so,
good. I feel like this isn't going to be too long of a throwback session.
Sorry, you cut out. So you don't.
I feel like this isn't going to be too long of a segment for this.
Probably
throwback.
not. There's.
Like, I feel like it's pretty straightforward.
Yes, it is. If you wanna, you wanna? Oh, you know what? I'll do this one. Cause
please do. I'm interested to hear how
you did.
Sum it up.
You did it, which is a big task to summarize. Basically, this movie's called Harvey, 1950.
What is it you do, Mr. Dowd?
Well, Harvey and I sit on the bars and have a drink or two, play the jukebox. And soon the faces of all the other people, they turn toward mine and they smile.
And basically it revolves around a character. His name's Elwood. What's his last name?
P. Dowd.
Elwood P. Dowd. He says the name like 50 times in the movie, so I should know it by now. Elwood P. Dowd, and he's rich because he inherited his father's money? His mom's money.
Yeah.
He inherited money.
I think that's an important distinction.
Yes. Well, sorry, I didn't. Yes. He inherited his mom's money, and he happens to have this imaginary. Not imaginary, even. Well, okay. It's hard to explain. It's so hard to explain.
Yes.
There's this rabbit that it's a 6'3" rabbit that only he can see, and it's his friend, and it's called Harvey. And he talks to him a lot, and he hangs out with him, and everyone thinks he's crazy. And not even everyone thinks he's crazy. Some people think he's crazy. Some people,
basically everyone.
Well, some people think he's actually profound, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of. But I also feel like even those people are kind of like, this guy.
Yeah, you're right.
Is crazy. Like he's an idealist, but he's nutshell.
Right. It's very. Basically his sister tries to get him into a mental institution, and the whole movie is them trying to bring him there, but also kind of understand what's going on with him, because they do talk to him a lot about and they do try and understand him, which I think is very interesting. And that's the movie. There's obviously deeper themes and stuff, which we'll talk about in a sec, but that's basically the plot of the movie right there. It's very similar to Puff the Magic Dragon, and there were definitely some inspiration that Puff took from this movie. At least I think so. I don't know if you think that, but
I never saw. I think I saw the original one.
Yeah. Oh, just
man,
it was
I was really little.
So you barely remember it. Yeah. But there's just a lot of cool things that movie, and that movie's obviously for kids, but that movie does a lot of things that this definitely took inspiration from this movie in the way that it does certain things, which I thought was cool. And yeah, so I guess to get right into it, I'll say what I really liked about this movie. I liked this movie a lot. It was great. It's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think it's slow in the beginning. Me and just slow beginnings. I don't know. I'm just having a rough time with those this week. This week just has a lot of slow beginnings. But
you have no tolerance.
I just
for each other.
don't.
You're ready to get to the action.
I just want to get there. No, but but it just is a coincidence that this movie, I think, has, in my opinion, the beginning of it is a little slow. It just not too slow. It's just I don't know. It just I didn't understand where it was going, if that makes sense.
Sure.
until like midway through the movie, and then I was like, okay, or not even before midway. I'll say even before midway through the movie, and then I was like, okay, I see where like we're going now. Like I understand what this movie is doing, what it is trying to tell me, and yeah, I gotta say, Harvey, best performance of the entire film. It was pretty incredible.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
It was pretty great. He did a great job. But you know, what really surprised me about this movie is this movie has a lot of heart. And man, why the fuck was I tearing up about an imaginary bunny not going to Elwood at the end? I was fucking almost losing it, man, and I hated it because I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I doing this? Like, why am I like actually
it's,
like,
you know, it's just such...
It came out of nowhere, honestly. I didn't think I was gonna get sad, and then I was like, don't leave him. Like, stop. and he does it, thankfully, and I was very happy, but god damn, I was like...
Yeah, I know. I was so glad.
Oh, it makes you so happy.
Looks like
this...
for a while that Harvey's going to go with the Dr. Chumley, who runs the mental institution, played, I think, very well by Cecil Kellaway. I think he does a really good job with that character, but I know it's just nice. It's just nice to see at the end.
This movie is such a feel-good movie. This is like...
It really is.
For the 1950s, like, how? Like, I don't remember anything from the 1950s being this, like...
Well, it's so charming.
Yeah, like...
Also.
Oh, my God.
I don't think anybody can do this the way that Jimmy Stewart can do it.
But it's not...
Because he's such a charming guy.
Oh, exactly. But it's not like... It's not... It never comes off as like... This is supposed to make... Like, it never comes off like overhanded or heavy-handed, honestly, like, in my opinion.
Not at all. Yeah.
It's not like, feel happy, feel it, like, feel sad, like...
Right.
Like,
it's just very, like... I don't know, man. It's just Harvey.
Oh my god. And dude, it is a bizarre,
it just lets you live the way you want to live.
I need to say, it is a bizarre experience because
that's fair.
This character, you never see Harvey. You never. Because he's not there.
I love about that? Exactly. But I love how most of the time when they were like the shots featuring Jimmy Stewart are composed to accommodate another person.
Yep.
Like that's just phenomenal.
It's shot so well.
Yeah.
It's shot so well. And I gotta say, I'm so glad they never showed us Harvey. Like, they do show you like a painting, but like they never... He never
actually like materializes, which I wonder if they had made this movie today with, you know, what you can do with
they
CG
would have done
and stuff. That would suck.
But this is the thing. Puff the Magic Dragon did this thing where you could see Puff in certain scenes, and he was 2D, and like, because the kids saw him. Right. But he was also invisible for a lot of the movie. So they did the same thing in that movie where he was invisible for a lot of it. But the difference is a big theme of this movie is the fact that the audience also can't see him. So the audience also doesn't know whether he's crazy or not.
Yeah, and I think that just adds to keeping the audience captivated, is that, you know, we're also kind of... There's a mystery about Dowd's sanity as well.
For sure. And, man, it's really... Oh, he's such a nice guy. Like,
he's the nicest guy.
It's like Mr. Rogers. Like, it's just like if Mr. Rogers had an imaginary friend, this would be.
Or if he had a slight drinking problem.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Like the other.
Which again just adds to like us questioning if Harvey's real.
Well, this is the thing. Harvey, by the end, you know that Harvey definitely is real.
Yeah.
Because, like, just there's no way, like, that he isn't by the end because of how they, you know,
right,
do
like
the...
he's obviously, like,
Yes.
shown to manipulate objects in his vicinity.
Yes.
Even though we can't see him.
Yes. So we know he's definitely real by the end. So we know he's not crazy. But they don't, what's the word? I lost my train of thought. They don't... We know that he's real by the end. But they don't ever explain. You still wonder about, like, the drinking thing. Like,
yeah. Which I love that.
He drinks so much. It's like, what the fuck, man?
But
he doesn't even act like he's drunk. They never drink.
Yeah.
They also,
never drink. There's one point.
He just
I
orders
think there's
them.
one point where maybe his sister, like, briefly mentions that he might drink a little more than usual, but aside from that, I think there's a lot of subtext.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, at least, they never say that he's, like, that Elwood P. Dowd is a drunk, but we just are left to our own devices to infer that because of his location and the fact that everybody, when he goes into the bar, everybody knows him, and even the unshaven stubble on his face. Right.
But he doesn't even really drink when he orders them, and like not on screen at least. And I don't know if that was more of a like a 1950s thing or what, but like
I think that
rule
could have been
thing.
part of it.
But I will say that it's interesting because it even makes you wonder. What if he's just doing it for the social aspect of it? Like he's not even like actually there to drink because he's not really drunk at all the whole time. Or maybe he is.
Yeah, I think he is.
You think he is?
I think he is.
Wow. Okay.
But they're not going to show him like, ooh, it's it's like a 1950s like classy drunk.
No, I know. I didn't even think about it. Like I don't know. I don't know if I'd like to think that he isn't, but maybe he is. I think he's definitely... I don't know. There's definitely something going on with him, but I don't... he's still, like... he's not crazy.
No, he's not crazy.
And he's just... I don't know. He just... I loved how he just made people happy in this movie.
Yeah.
And he made the audience happy, and... He was just, and you feel bad for him, man. Like there's some moments in this movie where you're like, damn, this is awful. And mainly there's two moments. There's the one moment when he's about to get the serum injected in him.
Oof. That's
dude,
rough.
That was hard to watch. I was like, dude, this is the worst because. And then the cab driver, thankfully,
exactly. Yeah, he says, I have it written down. He says, after this, will be a perfectly normal human being, and you know what stinkers they are. The cab driver says that to Elwood's sister.
What a good line. This movie has so many good lines. Holy shit, the lines. There's so many quotes in this movie. There's literally a line in this movie, and it's my favorite thing in the entire movie, and I think you're going to agree with me. He says this one line, I can't remember, I should have wrote it down. I hope you have it written down. But at the end of the line, he goes, and you can quote me on that. And it is like, I'm like, dude, I will quote you on that because that is the best fucking line I've ever heard in a movie. Like, I gotta look it up, actually. I'm gonna look up this line. I'm gonna look this up really quick. But yeah,
go for it. But I think that it's absolutely excellently written across the board. I mean, there's so much, there's so many lines of dialogue where Harvey is like alluded to, without like directly describing or referring to him in the beginning.
I also wanted to point another great directing move is there's this moment where the doctor's door opens and they do this subtle trick in the beginning of, they set you up for whenever a door opens and no one shows up at the opening of the door, that Harvey's opening the door.
Right.
And there's this moment, and they set it up brilliantly. There's this moment at the end where the doctor, we're trying to figure out what's going on with him now.
Yeah.
And he opens the door, and he opens it in such a way where he doesn't show up right away, and it makes you think that Harvey opens the door. It's so cool. Like, that is amazing directing, like, right there. Like, it's just awesome. Okay. Oh, there it is. It literally showed up right away. It goes, years ago, my mother used to say to me, she'd say, in this world, Elwood, you must be. She always called me Elwood. I said that wrong.
I was going to say, that's a little strange.
Yeah, no. Years ago, my mother used to say to me, she'd say, in this world, Elwood, you must be. She'd always call me Elwood. In this world, Elwood, you must be oh so smart or oh so pleasant. Well, for years I was smart. I recommend pleasant. You may quote me. That is an amazing line and so wise, and I loved it. Yeah, literally, that, like, just, I don't know, man. When I heard that line, it actually, like, impacted me a little bit. I was like, holy shit. Like, because it's just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's just, that's a way, like, I've never, like, phrased it like that, but I feel like that's a way, like, we're, not to get, like, too, like, real, but that's a way, like, I have thought about, like, how I, like, live my life is, like, because it's a way, basically, like, the way I look at that line in a modern, like, saying is, I'd rather not be, like, the smart is referring to being cynical, and the pleasant is referring to being optimistic, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
And being cynical, this is another quote. I'm stealing this quote from someone, but I can't remember who, but I know it's not mine. But basically, I heard this one, I think it was a comedian who said this. He said, I'd rather be... Oh, it was on a podcast. But anyways, he goes... I think it was Dax Shepard said this. He said, or someone said this on his podcast. He said, I'd always rather be hopeful and wrong than be right and miserable. And I think that's like so true. Like, and that's what this movie, like, really drives home. And it's just... It's a really, like, this movie, like, really gets to you, man. Like, I don't know. It really got to me, at least. It really, it related to me a lot.
Well,
and
that just goes to show. I mean, it does. I mean, for being just sort of ultimately pleasant, it really, it makes you think.
It really does. It's just, but that quote is just awesome. Like, I can't say, like, when he said that quote, I literally was like, that's amazing. Like, I was like, damn, that's an awesome fucking quote. Like, because it's true. At least I think it's true. And yeah, it's fucking awesome. I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to hit on with this movie?
It's, let me see. Well, I guess I just want to reiterate, really all around, just an excellent movie.
Oh yeah.
It's based on a play.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
By Mary Chase, and well, it's interesting because I don't think that there are sub movies where when they're based on plays you can really tell.
Yeah, like Fences.
Sure, Fences, absolutely. Dial M for Murder is one that comes to my mind. With this one, it doesn't really feel like that in the way that it's shot or anything. I think though that it feels like a play in the aspect of the scenes that we don't see.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting aspect from the theatrical side to translate over. That's not usually one that does.
Yeah, I agree.
Other stuff.
That's very interesting.
And also, I think that
it's very interesting.
Harvey, I mean, he is real, so it's hard to say if he really represents external idea, but
Oh, I think he definitely does.
yeah. And for my money, it's that, they reference a lot. Obviously Elwood's mom left him her fortune, and the sister references her death quite a bit. So I kind of feel like Harvey is there to help Dowd through missing out on all of that love that he previously got from his mom.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But I just like how they kind of introduce that concept so subtly.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I also say, I also would love to say, I couldn't, I don't think I caught on a lot of it, but I'd like to think that there has to be, some sort of religious symbolism in this movie. I don't know. It just seems like the kind of movie that would lend itself to it,
Right.
But I just watched it, and I can't, think of anything visually, but maybe just, metaphorically, story-wise, maybe there's stuff there,
Yeah,
or
maybe somewhere
contextually.
in there.
But, I don't know. It just, I feel
Me
like...
neither. And I love that stuff.
I know. That's why I brought it up, because I was like, oh, he'll say something about it if he knows, knows it, or noticed
Right.
something in it. I just want to end with, before I give my rating, I just want to say a couple more great quotes that I loved in this movie, because it's so many.
Yep, lots of them.
Thank you, Harvey. I prefer you too. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Oh, I do gotta say one thing I didn't care for. I did not care for the romance with the sister and the dude, the asylum guy. That was stupid.
Oh.
That was so dumb. That was so stupid. I hated it. It was so weird. It came out of nowhere. It was like,
But
what?
It wasn't the sister, Joe. It was the daughter. That's what's so weird.
Wait, what?
The Elwood's.
That's not Elwood's sister? That's
No, it
Elwood's
was the younger
sister.
one. It was the young one that
Yeah.
the guy was with.
Yes, the younger one is his sister, I thought.
No, the older one is his sister.
Oh. That makes sense. Okay. Well, that's still weird. So,
Yeah,
but
it makes it weirder.
yeah. Jesus. The other part about, and then the whole thing with the other love interest with the doctor and the nurse. I thought the nurse was gonna get with Elwood, and I was so confused.
But that's not Elwood's game, man.
No, it's not.
Can't be tied down.
Elwood put him. I feel like Elwood is just happy just putting other people together.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so I already said my favorite one. I already said that one. Oh,
Okay.
This one you said the cab driver. After this, he'll be a perfectly normal human being, and you know what stinkers they are. And then there's another one right under it that I love. He goes, well, I've wrestled with reality for 35 years, Doctor, and I'm happy to. He goes, and I'm happy. Yeah, sorry, there was a typo in the quote. I swear to God. Well, I wrestled with reality for 35 years, Doctor, and I'm happy to state I finally went out over it. And I love that line.
Yeah.
Because it's like, have you? And it's great. It's great. Man, I really, really, really love this movie though, and that's all I can say about it more, I think.
Right. I'm so glad that you did, because I love this movie.
It was,
I mean, I'm a massive Jimmy Stewart fan.
it was great. I feel like you haven't recommended a lot of Jimmy Stewart, honestly. This is the first one I think I've seen him in.
Well, we did Rear Window, which he's also excellent in.
Duh. Jesus Christ.
We should do, you know what though? We should do Mr. Smith Goes to Washington one time, because that's a good movie and you'll like that a lot.
I'd be down.
But yeah, let's rate this sucker, Joe.
I'm gonna give it a 9 juice boxes out of 10.
Wow.
This movie fucking is so good.
It is so good. But I'm gonna have to give it Oh man, I'm gonna have to give it an 8.
Wow, that's surprising.
I guess it is surprising, but
I mean, that's fine. I could, like, any lower than 8 I think would be ludicrous. But
yeah, I agree.
This movie, will say, it doesn't have, I don't think it has, like, a lot. It's a very strange movie. It's a very unique premise, and in that, it breaks a lot of norms that you may be used to watching a movie, plot norms. So, like, I could see someone arguing that there isn't a lot of substance in this movie. I would disagree.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah, I would disagree, but people would definitely, like, say that all that happens is they just talk about him having no action. I don't know. I could see.
Well, those people are idiots.
Well, yeah.
They'll have to deal with it.
But yeah, I love this movie, and that's all I can say. I love this movie, and it was good.
Yeah.
9 juice boxes out of 10, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I like it.
But yeah, so that's the show this week. Man, we're really good at ending 2 hours right on the dot, aren't we? Holy shit.
There we go.
Like, that's fucking crazy. But yeah, I can't remember. No sponsors this week, sadly. I mean, I don't think we have any. Do we, Andrew? Do we have any last-minute sponsors?
They all dropped us after the last episode.
Well, hopefully we'll get with some miracle we'll get some of them back. I mean,
sure.
I don't know how you can beat the boomerang, but
yeah,
whatever.
Well, before we go, you want to say what the throwback is for the next episode?
Yes. The throwback for next episode is none other than my mom's favorite movie. And
I didn't know that. That's cool.
It's my mom's favorite movie. That's why I've seen it so many times. It's one of my favorite movies though too. I'd say it's definitely in my top 10. Wizard of Oz, the Judy Garland classic. With I don't know what year it was actually.
38.
1938. Damn, that's crazy.
It was either 38 or 39.
That's nuts. But yeah, great movie, and I'm excited to. Dude, there's so much to talk about in that movie. Like,
oh yeah,
if you talk about symbolism in that movie, whew, there is so much shit. I'm excited. There's gonna be so much to talk about though, and it's gonna be really cool. So yeah, stick around. If you haven't seen that movie yet, somehow, what are you doing? Go see it. Be around for this next week's discussion because you're not gonna want to miss it. And there's also gonna be. I mean, we already kind of know what movies we're gonna do next week, so we're gonna also probably do Hustlers. That came out, and there was Rambo: Last Blood. So
right,
gonna be some good. It's gonna be a good episode. So definitely stick around for that one. And yeah, that's really all I gotta say. My name's Joseph Dorado.
I'm Andrew Canada. We'll see you next time at the movies.
Good heavens, man, haven't you any righteous indignation?
Oh, Doctor, years ago, my mother used to say to me, she'd say, in this world, Elwood, you must be, she always called me Elwood. In this world, Elwood, you must be oh so smart or oh so pleasant. Well, for years I was smart. I recommend pleasant. You may quote me.